Citizens of the modern world, welcome to South Melbourne Tram Depot, one of the 8 surviving tram depots in the last surviving tram system left in the English-speaking world. Welcome to tram number 1021, built for the 1956 Olympic Games.
Well, welcome to South Melbourne Tram Depot. My name Roberto D'Andrea, Roberto D'Andrea. Born to Sicilian parents in '61, a little bit of a traveller, and I suppose the first contact with the tram world for me, apart from occasionally coming into Melbourne and getting trams as a kid, was while I was in the US and in the city of New Orleans. And I watched all these people flocking around the one tram line they had left, which runs down Charles Street, and I thought, God, look at all this fuss, we've got tons of trams in Melbourne. Tons of trams. So, you know, that came and went, and I rode on that Charles Street tram and thought to myself, oh yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, time passed on, got back to Melbourne and thought, whew, Uncle Sam, bit of a brutal joint. Got back into Melbourne and saw tram conductors, and then saw old W-class trams, and then saw just the way that the people interacted between the tram conductors and their tram system, and thought, gee, I think I want to join up. Now, South Tram Depot, or the Melbourne Tramway System status, is an interesting one. It looks like, and it's known as, that we're the last surviving tramway system left in the English-speaking world, which is quite grand if you think of things in this way. There used to be tram systems all the way through England, there used to be tram systems all the way through North, Central and Latin America, so let's give you a few cities: Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, Rio, a few there in the south, Santiago de Chile. If you want to go into North America, Los Angeles had a big system, San Francisco's retained part of its system, Pittsburgh, and let's go New York, and let's go systems, I suppose, through down in New Orleans there was a greater one, etc., etc. So there were tram systems all through those parts of the world. There were also a lot of tram systems through the subcontinent into Asia, like Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta. You would have had systems in India, in Bombay and Madras. You would have had Karachi at one stage. Hanoi was a system that closed down quite recently. Cairo in Egypt. So our status is the last surviving tramway system left in the English-speaking world, and I think that's major because tram systems fell to the chopping block of oils, tyres and motor bodybuilding. So really the combustion engine after the Second World War came through and really changed the face of urban transport culture, where you would have had at one stage a lot of people mixing and using transportation. You would have had conductors and wooden W-class style trams in many cities: Australia, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, etc., etc. Melbourne's the only survivor out of the many places that once had tramway systems. And it's with that we've gathered an interest in Calcutta, and so we start to go towards the Melbourne and Calcutta Sister Tram City Friendship Agreement, if you like. We'll work on another name as the tape goes along. But Calcutta's status as well is one of a rare survivor. Now, ding ding, Melbourne, Calcutta, 2 rare surviving tramways, extending the hand of friendship. Well, what can I say to you, Mike? Basically, was on a holiday in Calcutta, October of '94, landed at Dum Dum Airport. And what I found was a beautifully ornate, in respects to the people, architecture, and quite a wild, dusty city. They had a wild, dusty, almost you could say in a way dilapidated tram system, but all power to tramway survivors and all power to cities that have decided to keep a beautiful, environmentally friendly, socially mixing form of transport. Came into Calcutta, Dum Dum Airport on a full moon, midway through October. Woke up the next morning and thought, okay, let's go out and have a look and see if I can find this tramway system. Lo and behold, the surprise of women in saris, ox carts delivering bananas and coconuts, people making food on the side of the streets, little senoritas and old senors coming up asking bubba for baksheesh, etc., etc. Through the 14 million, 15 million populace of Calcutta, wound the way through all this sort of old ornate British architecture to find the Calcutta Tramways, where it circles in one of its major terminating points near the Eden Gardens cricket ground. And I stand to be corrected, I think it's either BBD Barg or Park Circus, but we can fix that up whichever way is the right way. One thing led to the next. In an excited way, after seeing the trams, seeing the tram conductors, and seeing the style of trams that were being driven, I went in and I started having a chat with a few of the connies, and saying to them, look, tram driver Walla, Melbourne, Australia, and mimicking to them that this is how we drive a tram in Australia. So dum dum dum, with the air brakes, ding ding, ding ding, on the floor. Managed to convince a connie that I was authentically from a far-flung system. The connie, who I can't remember his name, invited us up to the Calcutta tram depot. So one thing led to the next. All of a sudden we're off into the beautiful, dusty northern streets of the Calcutta tramway system on our way to the Calcutta tram depot. Now through that we crossed over Lenin Sarani, Mahatma Gandhi Sarani, wound away through, dodging ox carts, taxis passing on the right hand side, people chopping coconuts and drinking things out of the top, samosas coming out of hot oil. It's an absolutely wild city, and ended up at the Calcutta tram depot. Now what was found there, just as an introduction to Calcutta, was a tram depot not unlike ours, but in a very rustic form. And the rustic form was that it had depot starters, it had connies and drivers, it had trams that had to car in and car out at right times, etc., etc. And what eventuated was a tour through the Calcutta tram depot, connies guiding us around, meeting a lot of the staff, sitting next to the starter, who would call out and say in Bengali, Santa la Soto, conductore, Santa la So, come on, you know, like get off your ass and get out of here, you've got to get on a tram. Exactly the same style of thing that you can find in Melbourne, where, you know, crews are carring out at a certain time, carring in at a certain time, beautiful. The sheds had about 9 roads, not unlike the caption that you're going to see from the sheds that we have out the back here. And in fact, in some cases, much the same architectural style. Met the union man, tons of connies, the canteen man, who was the equivalent to our George at that stage there. He was dressed in a longie, naked from the waist up, serving chai in little clay cups that the trammies would drink down, toss out the door and break in traditional Indian style, etc., etc. So there was this experience in India, right? There was an experience of coming into Calcutta, getting excited the first day in, seeing the trams, seeing the mechanics, explaining driver Walla, conductor Walla, Australia, being invited to the depot and going up and experiencing depot life. The present century comes to a close. Calcutta's worn-out fleet of battered vehicles continues to wind its way through narrow streets, teeming with humanity, competing for scarce space with buses, trucks, taxis, human-drawn rickshaws, and of course pedestrians, many too poor to pay fares on any means of transportation. Unfortunately, like the streetcars of congested and equally chaotic Cairo, Egypt, those of Calcutta are now facing the prospect of replacement by diesel buses. And it's here that the Melbourne Trammies Friendship Agreement starts to grow with Calcutta. Reasons why? We're 2 rare surviving tram systems. And really, from that trip in '94, South Depot has shown support to the Calcutta Depot and the greater Calcutta system by linking on the 2 rare sole surviving status. We're going to be taking an exhibition of Melbourne cultural tramway life, popping it into a Calcutta tram, taking the uniform over, short pants, long socks, walking in amongst the Calcutta crowd, showing them what our life is in Melbourne. Mate,
Great footage. Great spontaneous Z-class action here. In actual fact, let me tell you, I think what's happening there is that they're testing a crook tram. It's a Z1. It's one of Mr. Whitlam's trams, bought in the mid-1970s. Thank God for Gough, they cried. Johnny, how much time we got left? 2 minutes to talk. The story of going into Calcutta will one that'll be a little bit like this. Already mentioned, photos, short pants, long socks, Connie's bag, tickets of it's some sort of tickets that's an amalgam of a Melbourne tram, a Cal tram, with maybe a story on the back that'll say something like historic, social, cultural and environmental. Most important of all, I hope environmental things aren't a dirty word in the mid-1990s. Environmental reasons for the retention of an urban tramway system. Inside the cultural, you'll have the last surviving status, the way the people use them, the interaction with the tram conductors in amongst the locals in Cal, the saried women, the school kids going from A to B, BBD Bag, Cully Gut, the Babus, etc. Welcome to Melbourne, Calcutta. Welcome to all this sort of stuff. As we go straight in over the top of us. Come back in here, Lewis. Welcome to all this sort of life, where two rare surviving systems with wooden cabins that go over sheds. Keep her rolling, Dash, keep her rolling, son. A beautiful equipment comps up. Lewis, we look forward to the next exciting episode of Melbourne, Calcutta. Thanks, boys. Got to go up to 16, Lewis.